was? The first computer? Just think for a moment. Maybe the answer you have in your head is wrong. So whisper to somebody near you what you think the first computer was. Just in case it's wrong, you're going to whisper to somebody. And there's some clues on here, on this table. Now, it's a bit of a trick question to answer. Let me know why it's a trick or tricky question to answer. Sir, do you ever use a computer?
All the time.
Yeah, is the one that you used the first computer ever?
No, certainly not.
You think there was computers before that? Okay. Why is it a difficult question?
You have to define what a computer is.
Yeah, if we don't know what a computer is, then how can we say that something was the first computer or the last computer? So the word computer apparently was first used in like the 1600s to describe a person. And that person was somebody who would compute things. They'd be given some facts and figures and they have to go away and they have to compute these. And what do you think happened when people added up facts and figures? Yes, they made loads of mistakes. They didn't have technology like this to calculate things. So there would all be these books out there and you'd go and get a book and you'd pull the book out and say, now, we need to calculate. Is that a planet or an asteroid? And they'd look at the book and they'd make all their calculations. But often they were wrong because the calculations in the book were wrong. So somebody came up with an idea, right? We'll come back to that in a moment. Okay. Now, I need 4 people to each pick an object from here. We're going to play a little game. So these are all from the Pocket Museum of Computers. So now if nobody moves, it's going to make it more difficult. So you could just point to one, you could shout the colour, the size, or you could come over and touch one item. Yeah, pick one. So, okay, so we have one item. We need 3 more selected. Oh, people calling them by their name. 2 more objects.
What number is it?
We could do with 2 more. I've got 1 and 2. I need 2 more objects.
No,
the floppy disk?
I meant the valve number.
Okay. Right. Now we're going to put all the other items away for a minute, which is a shame because I really wanted to talk about this object here, but never mind. Nobody chose that one. You can go back in your box. Okay, go back in your box. Right. Now, of these 4 objects, one is really the odd one out. Yeah, it really stands out. Now, you can probably figure out which one is the odd one out, but again, the person next to you might not have a clue. So just whisper to them and tell them which is the odd one out of these 4 objects. And then, what we're going to do is, I'm going to use these magic 2 fingers. They're not magical, I'm just calling them magic fingers. And I'm going to point at this one, this one, this one, and this one. And each one of you is going to put your hand up if you think I'm pointing at the odd one out. So the odd one out means, like, if you thought, right, this is the only object that's red, so it's the odd one out. That's what your theory would be. So you're going to put your hands up if you think that's the odd one out. So nobody thinks that this object is very, very different from the others. Okay. We'll go to the next one. Oh, now a few people have put their hand up. I would say more than half of the people in the room have put their hand up. We'll go to the next one. Now, somebody's put their hand up twice. I didn't say that wasn't allowed. I'm now saying it's not allowed. So some hands went down. So we've got 5 for this one. And we go to this one here. So nobody thinks that these objects here are the odd one out. Now, it's interesting. Personally, I would have gone for this one here. Do you let me know why I would have gone for that one? When we're talking about the odd one out.
In modern circuitry, we don't have stuff like gas valves. We have transistors now.
Ah, okay. So, are you saying as well, would you agree with me that all of these objects here are associated with digital computers, or that's more associated with analog computers? Kind of. Would anybody say I'm wrong?
Yeah.
You think I'm wrong, that this doesn't belong with an analog computer?
It could be either. I'm not sure what.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Have you studied computer science, sir?
Yeah.
He can't even answer the question. See, I have friends who have degrees in computer science. Some of them are doctors in computer science, PhDs, and I ask them, what's a computer? And if you put 2 of them in the same room, they will spend hours arguing about what a computer is. And then you ask them, have you studied computer science? So computer scientists like to be precise and exact when they answer questions.
They do, yes.
So lots of people have said to me that this is from an analog computer. Computers that were used, like, very popular in the 1950s. In fact, if we went back in time and we were in the 1950s now, and one of these was in one of these computers and it was here, it would probably much fill up all of this library, the computer would. And they had these names, like they had these famous computers, and they were absolutely huge. Not only were they huge, something used to happen a lot. The valves in them would explode. They got so hot, sometimes they'd catch fire, and you'd have to have people to put the fires out. They use a lot of energy. In fact, is Stafford a city or a town? Town. A town the size of Stafford today uses about the same much energy that one of those computers used to use in the 1950s. So some people would say that is the odd one out. Lots of people thought that this was the odd one out. So we need somebody to be brave enough and say, why is this the odd one out? Tom?
Because that is storage, where everything else is technically or could be part of a standalone computing system.
Ah, so you're saying that this device over here doesn't have any storage medium on it. Oh! He didn't say yes or no.
That processor has cache on it.
Do you study computer science?
No, I don't. I'm self-taught.
Wow, you're right. Okay, it does. So they both can store data on them. There's a word that sometimes people use when they talk about the cache on here. It behaves in a certain way that this doesn't.
Isn't it megabytes or L2?
Well, it could be, but that might not answer the question.
Static or dynamic?
Oh, okay. Another word?
Volatile.
Volatile. Okay. Now, I don't know if you know, some things are extremely volatile, and it means that they can explode at any moment. But that's not what it means. It's not going to explode. What do you mean, Connor, by volatile?
So volatile storage, when power is lost, so is the data.
Ah.
But non-volatile, such as the floppy disk, will remain.
Ah, okay. So if I had some music or poetry that I once wrote and I saved it on this, I could put that in a computer in theory and still retrieve it, where if it was on here, that would have gone. Right. Okay, some people thought that this was the odd one out because you're not brave enough to say. Or nobody thought this was the odd one out.
I didn't at the time, but I kind of do now.
Ah, you think it's the odd one out because...
That in itself is a whole computer unit. You've got your inputs, your outputs, you've got your processor, you've got your RAM.
Why did he say computing unit? Why didn't he say computer? Why is it not a computer? Hello, sir. I'm trying to read your name, but you're...
Kevin.
Kevin. Kevin, would you say that this is a computer? You'd have to think about it before saying yes or no.
It is a form of, yes.
That's the word people often say. Oh, it's a kind of computer, or it's a form of computer. And if this gentleman over here had a PhD in computer science, he'd probably say, yeah, it could be argued it's a form of computer. We find it difficult to say that these things definitely are computers. They're like computers, they're a form of computer. And you could say better words. What better words would we use other than call it its name, Arduino? What else could we call it?
Controller board?
A controller, a microcontroller, a computing system board, you know, yeah, okay. Right, now, I think the first bit really is finished. I was just going to ask some questions at the very end. Like, we could have chosen some of these other objects. Although we're talking about why they're the odd one out, they do all fit in my pocket. And it might be that you decide to start a collection at some point. So if you're ever at a party and somebody goes up and says, computer scientist, Chris, tell me something I don't already know. And Chris could pull out a little wallet or a pocket and he could say, haha, you see this? And you see this? They look like they're the same, but they're totally different.
I probably would.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But it's very, very difficult to tell from this distance. This one cost me £1. This one cost me £2. 8086 processor from 1978. A Z80 processor from 1982 or so.
Yeah.
And that one cost me more money. And I don't think that they did it at the time. I think that one possibly cost more money, but who knows. But you could probably fit something like that in your pocket. And at some point in the future, somebody says, so Jack, what do you do with this Raspberry Jam thing? And you go, well, here, do you know what? Let's have a story. Let me tell you about something. So, I spent 25 years as a teacher, and that's why I can wait for a long time when somebody puts their hand up before I come into them. I spent a long time as a teacher, and I'm trying to get other people to learn to be a little teacher and in a little bit of their own way. So all these kind of things, if you're ever at a party, if you're ever at the bus stop, you sat on a train and there's 3 people at the table opposite, you could say, ladies and gentlemen, I bet you don't know what this is for, when this was first used. I bet you don't know why it's the same size a dollar bill used to be. But that's for another time. Right, thank you for listening.